We did it, folks. We did it. Episode number 100 of Hashtag AskGSM here today. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and thank you for joining me on this monumental occasion. And it couldn't have worked out any better because I'm home for the weekend, for Columbus Day weekend. I'm going back to campus in a couple hours, but I'm home at CT for the weekend at the place that hosted the first few editions of Hashtag AskGSM. Of course, I record these when I'm home for the summer and during the winter and stuff like that. But more often than not, I'm usually filming these from school. But it just really happened to work out that way. Episode 100 fell on Columbus Day, a day that I'm off, so we can go longer than usual. And you guys sent in a lot of questions, probably the most amount of questions. Maybe not that I've ever gotten, but at least that I've gotten in quite a while. So we'll be able to answer all of those in depth here today. But yeah, it's crazy though. 2.5 years, guys. I apologize. My voice is like shot. I've been talking a lot this weekend when I'm home and stuff. Just talking with family and stuff. But it's just funny to think that the 100th episode falls on Columbus Day when I'm home, back in the same room where I filmed episode number 1 2.5 years ago, which you can find here in the channel. All episodes 1 through 100, whether they were filmed on vacation, at college, here in this room, doesn't matter. I filmed at least, I think I counted up a couple months ago, I filmed in like at least 10 different locations over the last 2.5 years. But and this show would not have been possible. This 100th episode would not have been possible without your guys' help and watching and commenting and liking and sharing these videos and, of course, sending in your questions. And here's hoping another 100,000 more episodes of Hashtag AskGSM. So before we get started here, folks, be sure to send in your questions on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Also, be sure to tweet me on Twitter with the hashtag AskGSM at WrestleRant. And last but not least, be sure to leave a comment down below on this very video. I'll be sure to include your question in next week's edition. So just a brief little note here. I'm not using my Yeti microphone. When I came home for the weekend, I forgot my USB thing. My computer's a piece of shit. I only have one USB port in the laptop, so I can only use either my camera or the microphone, so of course I had to use the camera. The audio for this camera I don't think is too bad, so we shouldn't be in deep shit here, but I'm just saying if the audio is not as clear as it usually is, it's because I'm not using my much better microphone, my Yeti microphone. But next week, though. Anyway, starting with you guys' questions with Brad S. from YouTube. Push, repackage, release. Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, and Braun Strowman. Love these questions. Like I say, every single week, continue to send these in. I love these kind of questions. Some are harder than others. We do have a few tough ones this week. Someone asked, actually Brad asked or Hector did. He asked a very tough one, which I'll get to in a minute. Brad's was push, repackage, release, Wyatt, Harper, and Strowman. This one was a bit on the easier side. I would push Harper. I think Harper is vastly underrated. I think he's very, very good. He's great in the role, like the crazy-eyed guy in the Wyatt family. That's great and all, but I think as a single star, they could have done a lot more with him than what they did last year. I understand they gave him the Intercontinental Championship for a cup of coffee for a month, but he lost every match that he had as IC champion, all the non-title matches that he had. I think every match, period, after he won that championship. And then he dropped the title like a month later to Dolph Ziggler. So they didn't really push him as strongly as they probably should have. So that kind of sucked. So I would push him. I would repackage Wyatt. His gimmick is great, but I would repackage him in the way that I would turn him babyface. He's doing great right now, trying to regain that lost momentum that he lost last year in the feuds with John Cena. And although he beat Dean Ambrose, I mean, it didn't really do much for him. And then he lost to Undertaker and all this other shit. So I would repackage him by turning him babyface. I feel like with the whole Firefly entrance and everything else, that he's going to get over huge as a fan favorite down the line. So I would turn him babyface. And finally, release Strowman. Of those, I mean, I would keep him, but of those three, I would get rid of him. He's very limited in the ring. He is great in the role that he's in right now as this huge monster fucking guy, but he's not great in the ring as a singles performer. Granted, we've not seen much of him, but I feel like compared to Wyatt and Harper, he is not as strong in the ring or on the mic. So I would get rid of him of those three guys. Hector S., also from YouTube. If Dixie Carter calls you tomorrow and asks you to work for TNA, I would turn it down. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. What would you do to make TNA better? I mean, there's not really one thing. I'm not really an advocate for people complaining about TNA and saying, oh, this is shit, this is shit, this is shit. Well, what's your solution? I'm kind of a person that would like to offer a solution. Sometimes I don't do that, but I try to whenever I can. I'm not saying TNA is shit right now, but TNA is kind of shit after Bound for Glory and the whole World Title Series and canceling of the live events and everything else. It's so depressing. I enjoyed Bound for Glory, and I'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, you also asked about the Matt Hardy situation. I'll get to that in a couple minutes, but I enjoyed Bound for Glory. I'm thinking, wow, this is the first truly great show, or very good show anyway, that TNA's put on in at least a year or two. And then they fuck it up no more than 48 hours later. First of all, they lose James Storm. But then the whole world title series and the injunction storyline, it's a whole massive clusterfuck, and I hate it. But if I had to work for TNA and I was to take over, okay, first of all, I would hire some of the best names in the business. And I'm not talking about Eric Bischoff or Hulk Hogan, because they tried to copy what WCW did, not knowing that WCW failed towards the end. But I think not bringing in Paul Heyman a couple years ago was a big mistake on their part. I know Paul Heyman wanted like complete ownership of the company. He's not the greatest financial guy. So maybe they did dodge a bullet there, but I feel like with his creative mind, he really, and ECW failed too. I'm not, playing favorites here. ECW failed too from a financial standpoint, but I think from a creative standpoint, Paul Heyman could have really helped out TNA more than Vince Russo ever could have or ever did. So I would have brought in him or a few other wrestling minds that are still out there today. I mean, both Heyman and Zeb Coulter are back in WWE as of right now, but I don't know who else I would hire, but that's one thing I would have done. What I would do currently, I mean, they have the money, so it's not like you can say, oh, they can't do tapings here and there, or they can't go on the road more often. Yes, they were losing money on that and whatever else, but they lost so much money from the whole Hogan thing and bringing him in to do absolutely nothing. I love Hulk Hogan, but bringing him in was a complete waste of time. Let's face it. But they have the money. They're offering James Storm more money than he would be getting in WWE. That's really saying something. So I don't know where the money is coming from. Panda Energy, Dixie's parents. I have no idea. But the money's coming from somewhere, and the money's not the issue. It's just a factor in a creative clusterfuck and just everything else. I don't know, from the business side of things and the network and whatever else, they're not doing well on that front. So I would try to, going back to the money thing, I would try to hold more live events, better promotion, I think, is the key thing that I would do. I'm not going to go on a whole rant about this here. That's another video for another day, I feel like. But number one that just came to my mind, company awareness. Bully Ray has talked about this. AJ Styles, Sting, all these big names that work for TNA. Kurt Angle. They have an issue, a huge issue, with brand awareness. TNA could be coming to your town next week and you would never know because they never promote it on TV. They never promote it on their website. They never promote it in the area. That's why their ticket sales for the live events they recently canceled were complete shit because they don't advertise anything. You would never know. Like, I would go to a TNA show. The only reason I knew about the MSG show, not the MSG shows, the Manhattan Center shows, excuse me, was because I'm a diehard TNA fan. I've been watching for years, and I found out about it online through the dirt sheets. But a majority of the people that don't read the dirt sheets would never know about a TNA live event, and they have no brand awareness. That is number one issue with this company, is that no one knows about it. No one knows what the fuck TNA is or who this is from, or like who EC3 is, because they don't know the product. They don't hear anything about it. There's no buzz around that company, despite how well they might be doing creatively at times. There's no buzz around it because there's no awareness around the brand. So that's one thing. The top one thing I would change about TNA. His second question: push, repackage, and release. This is tough. The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and Shawn Michaels. There's not a right or wrong answer for any of these, specifically this one. Who are you going to release out of those three superstars? But you could really do this anyway, of course, but I would push Stone Cold because both of him and Rock are the biggest moneymakers, other than Hogan and John Cena, of course, in that company's history, the two biggest draws of all time. So why would I release any of those guys? I would obviously release Michaels of those three because those are the two biggest moneymakers of all time. Michaels, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, but he was never the greatest, not the biggest draw compared to those two. So I would release him. You can push, repackage either Rock or Stone Cold, doesn't matter. I just said push Stone Cold because he was the face of the Attitude Era, so he was perfect in that gimmick. And then the Rock, you could just repackage him to do, I don't know, God knows what, but push Stone Cold, repackage Rock, and release Shawn Michaels. His third question here: what did you think about Matt Hardy vacating the TNA World Heavyweight Championship? Like I said, I thought it was complete bullshit. I was so happy. And I'm not just saying this is garbage because I'm a Matt Hardy fan, but I just thought it was so stupid the way that it was handled. That Matt Hardy, I mean, granted, he finally got his moment, which is great. I was so happy about that in North Carolina. His family was there. His newborn was there. An amazing moment. But granted, they should not have taken the title off of EC3, but it is what it is. It was a great moment. You run with it. And then, I got to turn off my phone. Sorry about that. But anyway, I feel like after that, they just kind of lost momentum. 48 hours later, they strip him of the World Heavyweight Championship, and this would have never have happened if TNA had live events or taping set up or whatever the fuck they're doing right now. They had to take the title off of Matt Hardy for an injunction storyline because they didn't want to go months without having a World Heavyweight Champion. Yet, with the World Title Series, they will go, once again, months without a World Heavyweight Champion. So what the hell was the point of that? So that's dumb. The series itself, I understand the concept a little bit. It's kind of like the old Bound for Glory series that we had a couple years ago, which I liked. So I don't mind the concept. At least we have matches that mean something on TV as opposed to just random Kurt Angle versus Grado or something, like matches that don't make any sense. So at least they have meaning and purpose behind them. But man, they finally got some momentum, just an ounce of momentum after Bound for Glory, a show that I really, really liked, and they fucked it up by having Matt Hardy become the shortest reigning TNA World Heavyweight Champion in history. EC3 is no longer World Heavyweight Champion. They now have no tapings in sight for the next couple of months. It's a total clusterfuck over there. Just total bullshit. Not a fan of the move. I understand why they did it, because they have no live events scheduled, but just everything that's going on with this company is a total, complete clusterfuck. His fourth question, name a dream match that you would think is impossible to happen. Of course, I mean, anything like anyone that's dead, obviously, like an Andre Giant Big Show match. That's impossible to happen because Andre is dead. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch I can list here. But, of course, the most... I think one that a lot of people thought would happen, myself included, that will probably never ever happen at this point. I mean, there's a very small chance, but so minuscule that it's not even possible. CM Punk versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, a match that could have been possible a couple years ago if Austin wasn't beat up. I mean, I feel like Austin was much more open to one more match a couple years ago than he is right now. I feel like after WrestleMania 32 in Texas, if he does not in fact wrestle, I mean, at this point, I'm not counting on it. I think it's hush-hush. If he really, really is wrestling and they really want to keep it a secret, then great for them. I just don't feel like he is. After WrestleMania, I've just completely given up. Because if he is going to have one more match, it would be in a 100,000 seated stadium in Texas, in his hometown or his home state, whatever. It would be at WrestleMania 32. So if it doesn't happen, it's never going to happen. I feel like it should happen by now, but whatever. You know, his last match was 12 years ago. The guy's over 50 years old. It's probably not going to happen. Anyway, yeah, and Punk's, doing the UFC thing. He's gone from WWE. He will likely never wrestle for WWE again. Like I've said in the past, I feel like he will be back. He will be back in WWE. That's my prediction. Just maybe not in a wrestling role. So by the time he comes back in 2052, Austin is probably going to be in his 70s by that point. So they're not going to do another match ever between those two, or just a match period. Undertaker Sting, I was kind of hesitant to put that one out here on the list, just of those two matches. Because, I mean, it's not impossible. They're both working for the same company as of right now. If Sting wraps up his WWE run and next year's WrestleMania, it's kind of been a less than stellar run for Sting, in WWE, just the way that he's been booked and whatever. But anyway, I feel like Vince, from what I've been hearing, it just doesn't want that match to happen, which doesn't make sense to me because they wanted that match to happen. They tried oh so hard to bring in Sting. If rumors are correct, and I'm 99% sure they are because Sting talked about it before on interviews and whatever, that he was this close to coming to WWE back in 2011 to do the match with Undertaker at WrestleMania 27 in Georgia, maybe would have gone in for a Hall of Fame induction. I have no idea. But I just feel like that would, I mean, if they wanted to do it then, what has changed in the last 4 years? It wasn't like Vince wasn't in charge then, he's in charge now. It doesn't make any sense. I just feel like that would be a money match no matter how much the match might suck from an in-ring standpoint. It's going to sell tickets for wrestling fans. It's the one dream match left. I feel like the last true dream match in wrestling that can feasibly happen, they're not going to do it for whatever reason. I think it's more of a Vince thing than anything else, but it is what it is. But for one dream match, that still might happen next year. I'm just not counting on it at this point, unfortunately. But I would say Punk and Stone Cold, a dream match that will probably never, ever come to fruition, unfortunately. The first KFC, also from YouTube, should Seth Rollins be blamed for the low Raw ratings? I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. I mean, I've said this before in past years when it comes to low Raw ratings, and the champion should be blamed. Del Rio was champion when we had these low Raw ratings. Let's blame him as champion. Switch the title around, which did nothing, by the way. If you can recall, back in 2011. When Del Rio won the belt for like a cup of coffee for a month after SummerSlam, and ratings weren't as high as they were during the summer, they put the title on Cena for 2 weeks before putting the belt right back on Del Rio because they were scared of the ratings and whatever, and they figured, doing a quick title change, a hot potato title change will boost our ratings. They did nothing to boost the ratings. The creative was in a worse spot after that than they would have had they not done that. But anyway, when Punk was champion for a while, right as they put the belt on him in late 2011, there were reports that, they might take the title off him because Raw ratings are low and whatever else. We might have to take the belt off of him. It's not the champion's fault, I feel like. WWE, and I've talked about this either on this show before or wherever. I know I've talked about this to somebody in the past. about how WWE in 2015 is what sells tickets. It's not one person, other than maybe Brock Lesnar and the part-timers and John Cena as well. One person is not going to go to the, let's go out to the matches tonight to see Big Show or to see Seth Rollins. I mean, I love the Young Guys. I love The Shield. I love Bray Wyatt. I love Kevin Owens. But people aren't going to these shows just to see one person. Now I'm going just to see Kevin Owens. Maybe in some cases, but more often than not, you're going to these shows because it's WWE. Oh, WWE's in town. You're not saying, oh, Hulk Hogan's in town, Bruno Sammartino's in town, Stone Cold Steve Austin's in town. That was the case, yeah, sure, 30, 40 years ago, maybe even during the Attitude Era. But in 2015, WWE, for better or for worse, has centered their brand around themselves. They're selling tickets on WWE. They're not saying Monday Night Raw featuring John Cena. I mean, John Cena is selling tickets, but I mean, it goes to the point where they're offering refunds if he's not there, which is dumb in my opinion. But they're not saying featuring Seth Rollins as WWE champion. Like, they're not saying that because WWE is what's selling tickets and bringing people into the building. Again, maybe with like, oh, Brock Lesnar will be on tonight. Come to the show. Sure, that boosts ratings and also boosts attendance and stuff like that. But for the most part, though, it's centered around WWE. So to answer your question, I feel like Seth Rollins should not be blamed for the low Raw ratings. That's just a scapegoat. If John Cena was in the main event last week, should last week's low Raw rating be blamed on him? It makes no sense. They're always switching up the main event. It should not scare them into never doing a fresh match in the main event again, like a John Cena versus Big E. Never been done before. Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt for the first time ever in a Raw main event. I think that stuff is cool. Do more fresh stuff like that in the main event. It should not scare them out of doing that. So I feel like Rollins should not be blamed. I think he's had a very good run as WWE champion. I know it's debatable for a lot of people in terms of how he's been booked, how many matches he's won, and all the interference and all this bullshit heel stuff, whatever. I feel like, in my personal opinion, he has a very good reign, has had a very good reign as WWE champion from a match quality, the way his character has been booked, the list of opponents he's beaten. I feel like Seth Rollins has had a very good reign as WWE champion, but that might be just me. But I don't think he should be blamed at all for the low Raw ratings. It's just because the creative and someone else might have asked this. I think it might have been Daniel. We'll get to his question a little bit, but I'll kind of address it now. I feel like the low Raw ratings are because they're not doing anything that makes you it's a must-see. I mean, I'll be watching every single week, but for the casual viewer, oh, I mean, nothing's on tap for tonight. Cena versus Rollins in the main event again. I won't watch. I'll wait till next week. You know, people will just easily miss out. They have the same tired formula of just doing a match, opening promo, match, opening promo, match. You gotta switch up the formula a little bit. I know it's like, oh, save this match for a pay-per-view, which is absolutely true. But I feel like for the, having the Authority kick off the show, way too formulaic. They haven't done it in a couple weeks, which is great. But they keep on doing the same thing every single week, and that's why people don't tune in, because it doesn't have that must-see feel to it. And I know Daniel asked that question, in Twitter, and I'll get to this question later on, but that kind of partial answer to it. I just feel like it's not Rollins' fault. It's not Cena's fault. It's just the creative, or Vince, or whoever, that is booking these shows and not straying away from their usual tired formula. His second question here, what would you give NXT TakeOver Respect out of 10? From 1 to 10, what would you give it? I would give it an 8. I thought it was a very good show. Obviously, continued the strong streak of great TakeOver shows, Arrival shows, whatever. It's been a year and a half. I think we've had 8 or 9 of them. I think we had 4 last year and 5, or will have 5 by the end of this year. And they've all been great. We had the one in, February, May, August, and October. And then we had the 5th one in December. So we've had 8 so far. All of them have been great. I feel like Brooklyn was better, not just because I was there and I'm biased towards that, but I feel like the overall show was perfect. Not a bad match in the card. Every match was either good or memorable. This show, very much the same thing. I thought the main event was phenomenal, one of the best matches of the year. I thought the Brooklyn match was better, but still a very, 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 very good match. An amazing match between Bayley and Banks in the main event. The tag team tournament, all good matches, nothing too great. I thought the Gable, Jordan, Rhino, and Corbin match was very, very good. Probably the best tag match of the night. The other 2 matches were good. Not great, but they were very good. The women's match, the first one, Asuka versus Dana Brooke, was very good. A great in-ring debut for Asuka. And Apollo Crews versus Tyler Breeze was good. Nothing too memorable. Just didn't really have the right build, but it was a good match, though. So I would say I would give it an 8 out of 10. Very much enjoyed the whole event on the whole. And looking forward to the next one in December in England, which should be amazing. So next question from Frank Shear 15. Should Baron Corbin and Rhino continue teaming? I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I think Baron Corbin is either good in a tag team role or by himself as a singles heel guy. I feel like I've been much more interested in him as a performer than I would have been. I mean, when he was doing the whole thing over the summer, or the past year technically, with him just facing job guys every single week, there was no purpose to it. He was doing nothing other than the 2-week short-lived feud with Samoa Joe. He wasn't doing anything by himself. But I feel like this tag team with Rhino, those guys have had great matches the entire tournament. I forgot who they beat in the first round. I think it was the Ascension match. Them versus the Ascension, so much better than I thought it would have been. I mean, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be a bore fest. This is going to suck. The match was actually quite entertaining. They had another match against Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Great match, too. The size difference really helped. It really worked to their advantage. And the match they had with Gable and Jordan, again, one of the best tag matches, the best tag match at NXT TakeOver Respect. Those guys are a very good tag team. I love Rhino. Corbin is kind of sold. He's kind of sold me on him with his recent performances in this tag team. And the match with Joe and Balor on that same show is also very, very good. So I would keep them together for a while. I feel like neither of them are... I mean, either of them aren't really doing anything as singles performers right now. They're much more interesting as a tag team than they are on their own. So I would keep them together for a little while longer. His second question, should James Storm be a heel or babyface in WWE? Obviously babyface, I think, for right now anyway. You know, I mean, I know Kevin Owens turned heel the same night that he came in, but he's a natural heel anyway. James Storm, I mean, I loved him as a babyface in TNA, the whole long necks and rednecks. He really broke out on his own late 2011, early 2012, really broke out. And WWE, or rather TNA, dropped the ball by not putting the belt on him in Nashville or not having him win the Bound for Glory series or whatever it might have been in 2012. They really dropped the ball on him in that year, and he was never really the same after that. They put him in a stupid-ass tag team with Gunner, which I thought was a complete waste of time. And the whole Revolution thing sucked. He was a great heel. He was amazing in the role, but the whole group itself was awful. Revolution was just a bunch of fucking job guys. So glad. And then he loses to Mahabali Shera in his last match. I know he's putting him over. Kudos to him. But James Storm should have been so much more in TNA than what he was. And I know he's been there for like 13 years. Oh, it's too late to start pushing him. That's not the case at all. Absolutely not the case. They could have put in the world title on him at any point and really could have done something special with him as a singles performer. Never did it, and they wasted him. So I'm so glad he's in WWE, or at least seemingly. Last I heard, he has not signed a contract with WWE, but I would love to see it. I feel like he'd be a great fit for NXT, working with the young guys, and as a babyface. He came in last week as a babyface, so I would keep him as a babyface for now. If you want to turn him heel down the line, that's good too. He's a great heel, an even better babyface in my opinion. But again, I don't think he's officially signed, so let's not jump to conclusions, but I am excited to see him in WWE. Great signing by NXT, and looking forward to seeing what else he could do in NXT and Full Sail in the months and weeks to come. Moving right along here to the Facebook questions, first with Justin G. He sent these in last week. Couldn't get to them. I already filmed the video by that point. So they are for Monday. Some of them are outdated, as you'll soon see, including this one. Do you think making Matt Hardy the TNA World Champion was a good idea? Again, 24 hours later, they stripped him the belt anyway, which I thought was so stupid, like I talked about before. But making him World Champion to begin with, I understand the argument. They didn't want a lot of people did not want to see EC3 lose the belt. But granted, he's still undefeated. He wasn't pinned. It was Matt Hardy's home state. Got a great moment out of it. The family celebrated with him afterwards. So it was a very well-deserved title win. It worked out well from where they were. The build-up, he was in chase mode for months with Jeff Hardy being out. Had Jeff Hardy not been injured, maybe it would have been Jeff in that position, not Matt. But I'm so glad Matt got his moment in the main event, years ago. And I mean, I'm a huge Matt Hardy fan, so again, I'm biased. But putting that aside for a minute, even if you consider where he was only a couple years ago, late 2011, late 2010, the guy was in a terrible place, mentally, physically. He put up that suicide video that one time and just in a very, very bad place. And a lot of people thought he would be the next one to go. He was a DUI away from killing himself or somebody else. But in the years since then, especially in 2012 and beyond, he's really fixed up his act. He's had a kid. He has a son now after this past June. He got married in late 2013. He's working more indies now. He worked in Ring of Honor for a while, had a great run over there, has had a great run, a second stint with TNA the last couple of years, for the last year and a half. So I think he's deserved it. I mean, just because you deserve a title doesn't mean you should give it to them. I mean, I feel like Zack Ryder deserves a push. Doesn't mean you should give him a push. But I feel like Matt Hardy was in the right place at the right time. TNA stars, they're so void, so absent of stars right now. With everyone leaving, they have really no one left, other than EC3. But like I said, I understand that argument, but people are like, oh, it's a WWE reject. TNA's in the shitter. Why would you put the belt on Matt Hardy? The guy deserved it. It was a good match. It was a great moment for him. Like I said, it would not have stripped him the title 2 days later. I thought that was complete bullshit. The World Title Series, I think, is a total clusterfuck. But it was very well deserved considering where he was a couple years ago. He's really cleaned up his act, put a lot of people over. He's had some really good matches this year and last year in TNA in Ring of Honor. It's a world title he should have won 10 years ago. I understand that, but he's a great dude. Have met him a couple times, hoping to meet him again next month for a 4th time. And I think it's a very well-deserved moment, and I'm very happy for Matt Hardy for at least getting that moment. Unfortunately, he had to strip of the belt 2 days later, which I thought was so stupid, like I said. But at least he got the moment, and no one can ever take that away from him. His second question, Kevin Owens recently won the Intercontinental Championship. How far along do you think Kevin Owens will hold that belt until he hits his true main event form? You know, I've talked to RJ, at RJ_Marceau on the Twitter, cheap plug for him. We were talking about, not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, about potential matches that we could see at WrestleMania. Now, he said maybe he drops the belt before Royal Rumble, he wins the Rumble, and goes on to win WrestleMania, or goes on to face Lesnar for the belt at WrestleMania. Kevin Owens, this is, okay? As awesome as that would be, I just don't foresee it happening. And he said that WWE needs to make stars, and I absolutely agree. And I would love to see that happen. I just don't feel like it will. I mean, we've seen that in the past. We've seen it with Roman Reigns last year. They made a star of him, almost. And I know he lost in the main event of WrestleMania, but it was a fresh face, the first fresh face to win the Rumble in years. So that was cool to see, other than, should have been Daniel Bryan, but I digress. Yeah, I just feel like Kevin Owens will be main event star before long. They kind of derailed his momentum a little bit by having him tap out clean to John Cena Battleground. Complete waste. They should have had him win that match, but whatever. At least not tap out, which I thought was so fucking asinine. But still, I feel like he will be main event star after a while. The IC title is a stepping stone to that. I feel like he can be the first guy in a long time to take that title, make it mean something, and then go on to bigger and better things. Excuse me. I mean, people in the last 10 years, I've talked about this before, that I don't want people to think just because Kevin Owens is IC champion that he's going to be, oh, that means he's going to be main eventer. The IC title, I hate to say it, does not mean much in 2015. Randy Orton was the last guy, to my knowledge, that took that title, had a great reign with it, and then went on to win the World Heavyweight Championship a month later. Who has that been the case with in the last 10 years? Go up and down the line of the people that have held that championship in the last 10 years. Ryback, do you think he's going to go on to main event in the next couple months? I don't think so. Wade Barrett, Kofi Kingston, The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, all these guys are glorified mid-carders. I hate to say it, they should all be a lot higher on the card than where they are right now. But that belt, those title runs, while some of them were better than others, none of them went on to main event in pay-per-view main events, went on to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Other than Randy Orton, 11 years ago, no one has had a stepping stone reign for that with that IC championship. It's just a prop. The U.S., I don't think is much better, but the IC title, despite its prestige, people have not won that championship and gone on to win the World Heavyweight title. Maybe years down the line, but more often than not, that title has not made stars out of anybody. Main event stars out of anybody in recent years. So I don't feel like this is going to be the case with Owens. He could be an exception to that rule, but I feel like he's going to, regardless of whether he drops the belt next month or next week or 6 months from now, he's going to be main eventer before long. You're not going to be able to keep this guy down. He has so much potential. How long will it be before we see him in the main event? I think Justin is asking. I would give it about a year or so. I feel like they won't push him before WrestleMania or in time for WrestleMania for like a main event match. I mean, I booked it months ago, but I feel like a match with Sami Zayn for the IC title. I said it for the U.S. title a couple months ago, but now that he's IC champion, a match with Sami Zayn at WrestleMania for that title would be amazing. So maybe by this time next year, for the summer, I could see him getting pushed into the main event slot. Would be really, really cool. So I give it a year or so until he's officially a main event star. Maybe longer, but we'll have to wait and see. That's more or less what I think it will be. His third question, before we get on Taha K's question, his third question. In this two-part question, I want to ask you if you could play fantasy booker right now. How would you book the return of both Hideo Itami and Sami Zayn? Well, Sami Zayn, I just said it basically. I already answered it before. I would have him return to the Rumble, eliminate Kevin Owens, or have some sort of face-off in the Rumble. He should be ready to return by that point, by the Rumble, or at least I hope so. And he should be on the main roster, too. He won the NXT title. He did everything there was to do in NXT. Time to move on to the main roster. But do the thing with Owens, build a match between the two for WrestleMania, and do that top match for the championship at WrestleMania. Sami Zayn finally gets his big moment, finally gets his big win over Kevin Owens, and wins that championship. So that's how I would book the return of Sami Zayn. Hideo Itami should be back any time now. The original timetable was that he was going to be back in October or afterwards or later this year, so he might be back in the next month or so. I don't think he definitely wasn't at the tapings. I would have heard about that, but so he should be back maybe November, maybe in time for the December special would be really cool. But how would I book it? I mean, I might turn him heel. I know he has the attacker storyline going on for him. Maybe you turn Joe heel and reveal him as the attacker of Hideo Itami, or you say Hideo Itami was never really attacked. He just got, I don't know, he got injured. I don't know what you do, but maybe you turn him heel and feud with Balor or Joe. But he should be towards the upper echelon of the card in NXT, considering there's not many main event stars left. You know, Kevin Owens is gone. You have Finn Balor, Samoa Joe, Tyler Breeze is like mid-card for life in NXT, unfortunately, or at least for right now, until they start pushing him. Apollo Crews is still working his way up. So you have Balor, Joe, Itami. I would just put them all in the same match at the next TakeOver special or the one in February or whenever. So that's how I would book his return. Immediately thrust him into the immediately thrust or put him in the NXT title picture when he comes back in a couple months with Balor, Joe, or both. Next question from Taha K, also from Facebook. Have you heard any theme music mashups, and if so, any favorites? Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan. I think his name is Raven Sirum or Serum or whatever, however you pronounce it. He's here on YouTube. Great mashup. He does other videos too, but I subscribed to him for his mashups back 5 years ago in 2010. He's had a lot of good ones. I'm a huge fan of Dalexman. I don't know how you pronounce that, but obviously a very well-known YouTuber. He has a lot of great mashups on his channel that I subscribe to as well. But back to the Raven guy. He did one that I loved. Have it on my iPod and everything. I have it right here. He did a mashup with the John Cena's theme song and the Nexus theme song. And this was right after John Cena, almost exactly 5 years ago, right after Cena joined Nexus, after he lost that match to Barrett at the 2010 Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Great mashup. Go out of your way to find it. Maybe other people did it too, but I know it's on his channel, the Raven channel, Raven Siram. Like I said, I think it's C-Y-R-A-M. I think that's how you pronounce it, or put it in the, that's what his username is. Anyway, I think that was an amazing mashup. I have a couple others on my phone as well, on my iPod too, but that was like the one that stands out. I still listen to from time to time to this day because I think it's so cool. We Are One and John Cena's theme song. It would be the perfect heel theme for John Cena. Paul S. is back after a while. Great to see Paul back. A huge part of hashtag AskGSM, by the way. All of you guys are. A lot of your questions are great. I love answering them. Andre G, I'm about to answer his questions in a couple minutes. Daniel. A lot of you guys have been sending in questions forever now, so I thank you for that. But no better time for Paul to return with his questions than for the 100th edition as well. And in addition to Justin, he has been sending in questions for a long time now. Really appreciate Justin G. And he finally brought his questions back, also in time for the 100th episode, so it couldn't have been a better time to do so. But Paul's questions, starting with his first one. After James Storm, who do you think is from the current TNA roster would soon follow to WWE? Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode. I mean, I could also put in AJ Styles or Austin Aries, but they're not technically still with TNA. Bobby Roode, to my knowledge, is still with that company. Bobby Roode, I've been saying for a long time, excuse me, I think has got the look, the mic skills, the in-ring skills, everything that WWE would be looking for in a potential up-and-comer in WWE. The guy is a star waiting to be born. And they have booked him very well in TNA. Not to say that TNA has ruined him like they did James Storm. He's been a main event star for the better part of the last 3 or 4 years. So they did a good job of making a start of him a couple of years ago when he won the Bound for Glory series and went on to become the longest-reigning TNA World Heavyweight Champion excuse me, of all time. And a great heel, a great babyface. But he's done everything there is to do in TNA, so I think it's time for him to move on to bigger and better things in WWE. And you have no idea what the future of TNA holds. They could fold tomorrow for all we know. I hope not, but you never know with this company. So Bobby Roode, I think, would be a great fit for WWE, specifically NXT. I don't know if these guys, Joe, Storm, Roode, if he was to come over, would ever get to the main roster, but for NXT purposes, would be a great fit for that promotion. In addition to getting a potential beer money reunion, maybe they would call them Soda Currency. I have no idea, but it would be great to see both beer money members in WWE. That would be just absolutely surreal. Like I said before, Storm I don't think is even signed with WWE officially, but it would be so great to see those guys together again in WWE and NXT. Can you imagine an NXT title match between NXT tag team title match between beer money and like, I don't know, like, or not NXT, but I don't even know, beer money versus Enzo and Cass, or any Jordan and Gable. Oh my God, Jordan and Gable versus Beer Money. Hashtag book it. That has money written all over it. So yeah, Bobby Roode is one guy, the only guy, other than maybe a Hardy and a Kurt Angle, that I would love to see back or join WWE for the first time. His second question: who would you rather face Brock first, Sheamus or Samoa Joe? A lot of people would say Samoa Joe. I'd probably go with him as well. Both matches I would love to see. I had a discussion with the Prince, who is also a commentator, however you say it here on the YouTube channel. So shout out to the Prince. But yeah, we talked last week. I don't think it's a WrestleMania worthy match, as he pointed out, but I feel like Brock and Sheamus would be a great match in any other pay-per-view, any B-level pay-per-view. That might be a waste of Lesnar at WrestleMania, but on any other pay-per-view, it would be a great match. Sheamus and Lesnar, that is. I know Sheamus hasn't been booked too well as a heel so far, or just in general in recent years, but the guy's still a great wrestler. I think a lot of people just fail to realize that. So I think him versus Lesnar would be a great match. I've been waiting to see that match for years now. No shitting you. After Brock came back, I put a whole article up on Bleacher Report, 10 reasons why Lesnar versus Sheamus should happen. We have yet to see it. Would be a great match. Joe, another great match I would love to see. I think it's a lot less likely that we see that match. Unfortunately, I don't think they'll ever push Joe to that level. Again, would love to see it. I just don't have enough faith in Vince, and they might not even bring him to the main roster. I feel like he will, and he should, but I just have a chance. I just have this weird feeling that they might not bring him up to Raw or SmackDown. I feel like they just might make him NXT exclusive. But of those two, I would rather see Joe versus Brock first, but Sheamus and Lesnar would also be one hell of a matchup, I'll tell you. His next question: Triple H recently stated that he's looking to reviving the Cruiserweight division. Do you suppose it would attract former X Division champs like Amazing Red, Elex Skipper, etc., etc.? I don't think so. Would it attract them? I've always been of two minds in the whole Cruiserweight division thing. A lot of people have said, when Triple H brought that up, I think it was in the Twitter Q&A last week, a lot of people said, oh, we need the Cruiserweights back. It was a good thing for SmackDown, but it also, at the same time, I think it limits those people and kind of saying that they're never going to get above a certain level, which, I feel like Neville should be a mid-carder, but if they're going to push him like a loser, you might as well put him in the Cruiserweight division, you know what I mean? And they don't have as many Cruiserweights as they did when I first pitched the idea years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago. All their main Cruiserweights like Yoshitatsu and Evan Bourne, Justin Gabriel, they're all gone. Usually the Cruiserweights like Finn Balor and Hideo Itami, they're all bigger stars than what a Cruiserweight division would limit them to. So, it would be cool, but would it attract those kind of guys? Maybe. Triple H, I would have never guessed. If you told me a year ago that Samoa Joe and James Storm would be in WWE, would have never believed you, obviously. So, stranger things have happened. I've never seen Skipper's work, and I'm familiar with the name from the early days of TNA, but I don't think I've ever seen a match of his, weirdly enough. Strangely enough. Amazing Red I have. He's a great talent. I don't know if, maybe, even if they were to do an X Division-like thing, or a Cruiserweight division or whatever. Even TNA doesn't do their own X Division right. WWE never did the Cruiserweight division right either. They were just random matches without many stories attached to them. And without the brand split, it's kind of irrelevant. Unless they do it in NXT, and they can bring in Amazing Red for a one-off, which they have in the past for, Brian Kendrick and a few others. So it's possible, like Johnny Gargano. It's definitely possible. I'm not betting on it, but, anything is possible with Triple H in charge of NXT. His next question: if you could include an NXT star in the title picture right now, Samoa Joe and Finn Balor, who would it be to make it a triple threat match? Like I said earlier, Hideo Itami. He should be back in time for within the next couple months. Maybe in time for the next special. I wouldn't bet on it. Maybe he'll be back at that special for the first time. I'm not exactly sure. But I would put Itami in that title picture. I feel like have Joe be revealed as the attacker, or even have Balor revealed as the attacker, or you turn Itami heel, whatever the case is. It's going to be a great match. Joe and Balor is going to be amazing on its own, but I feel like Joe, Balor, and Itami, recipe for success right there. So I would include Itami in the NXT title picture in the next couple months. I would put Breeze in there for the meantime too, but the guy's a loser. The guy's always losing. So what purpose, what purpose would he serve in the NXT title picture if he always loses? You know what I mean? It'd be kind of a waste. But yeah, I would put Itami in the title picture with Joe and Balor when he comes back. And moving on to the rest of the Facebook questions here from Andre G. Why do you think the WWE doesn't treat Randy Orton like a big star when it comes to money matches? I feel like just they're taking a step back with Randy Orton, which is good. There's no reason for him to be main eventing pay-per-views every single month. I know Cena still does it. And oddly enough, John Cena has not been the main event of a WWE pay-per-view since Survivor Series last year, which is crazy to think about. But it's true. But anyway, I feel like Randy Orton in the twilight of his career, not saying that he's going to retire in the next 2 or 3 years or so, he might, never know, but he's taking a step back, he's putting other people over, can get a title right here and then, every now and then, which is great, he deserves one. But when it comes to money matches, like, are you talking about like with Brock Lesnar or like a Rock or something like that? I'm not exactly sure, because John Cena was the money guy, Punk was the next biggest guy next to John Cena. They've already done every possible, part-timer match with Cena, like with Brock and Rock and everybody else. Maybe Cena Sting at WrestleMania? I hope not, but anything's possible. Anyway, yeah, Randy was just kind of taking a step back. They're not pushing him as aggressively as they were a couple years ago because he's done it all. The guy is a 12-time World Heavyweight Champion. He's faced everybody. That doesn't mean we can't see a Lesnar-Orton match at some point, but when it comes to money matches, as you said, I don't think there's any real priority to continue pushing Orton at a top-tier level, because the guy's already done it all. He's having fun in the twilight of his career as a tweener character, feuding with, and God, Sheamus for the millionth fucking time. But when he's involved in fresh feuds, he can be a lot of fun. Like we saw with Rollins a couple months ago. Those guys had a great series of matches right after WrestleMania, including at WrestleMania 2. So, yeah, there's no reason to continue pushing him as a top-tier talent. I mean, he still is one, but, I mean, when I say that, I'm saying, like, referring to world title matches every single month and stuff like that. There's just no need, because the guy's doing well where he is on the card. He's not jobbing out or in the mid-card like he was a couple years ago. He still has meaningful programs and matches on pay-per-views, but he's doing great as it is. He's putting other people over, and that's exactly what he should be doing at this point in his career. His next question was, do you think the reason why Finn Balor is champion is because Hideo Itami got injured? Wouldn't doubt it. I feel like they were priming up Hideo Itami to be that guy to win the belt from Kevin Owens in Japan. It would have made perfect sense. I know Finn Balor has background in Japan, obviously. Worked out perfectly. He's been a great champion so far. But I feel like that spot was for Itami. If you remember when Balor became #1 contender, the match was originally Itami, Balor, and Breeze. Then it just got changed to Breeze and Itami. Excuse me, Breeze and Balor, because Itami got hurt like right before that match took place. So, yeah, I feel like Hideo Itami would be champion right now because they wanted to get that big, big title change in Japan. I mean, it really sucks for him. It really does. I mean, it ended up working out well for Balor and just us fans in general. It would have been fine either way, but really sucks for Itami because I feel like that would have been his moment to win that belt in Japan, but maybe another time. But yeah, I feel like the champion would have been Itami had Balor not gotten, had he not gotten hurt, had Itami not gotten hurt. And what would have happened to Balor, I have no idea. Maybe he would have continued the feud with other people. I'm not really sure, but I'm 100% sure that they might have even given away the GTS at the Beast in the East special if they had Itami beat Owens for that belt. He would have finally hit the GTS, win the championship in Japan. Would have been amazing. Still cool that we have Balor as champion, but that would have been one hell of a moment had he not gotten injured. His next question, your thoughts on the whole TNA World Title Series, and should Matt Hardy even drop the title since he's in this series? Like I said before, it's just so fucking dumb. The logic that, we have to strip Matt Hardy of the belt or relinquish it, whatever. Matt Hardy has to relinquish the belt because we're not going to have a champion because of the whole injunction storyline for a couple months. Then with the series that they're doing, the World Title Series, they're still not going to have a champion for the next couple of months. So what the fuck is the point? You know what I mean? It makes no sense from that standpoint. And then we have random matches, which again, like I said before, it makes more sense that we have something to these matches and not just random. But it's so stupid. It's so fucking dumb. It's only in TNA where this kind of thing happen. But should Matt Hardy even drop, like you said, why would he even drop the title? Why would you even drop the title? Because the guy is competing back for the belt anyway. Same thing with EC3. Just give him a rematch, god fucking damn it. It makes no sense. If they're not going to have a champion for a couple months, the same length of time that they wouldn't have had a champion with the whole injunction thing, then why is Hardy even going back for the belt? It makes no goddamn sense. What if Hardy wins the championship and it comes down to him and EC3? Why? What sense does that make? You know what I mean? It just makes absolutely no sense. I think it's just so stupid. But again, only in TNA. Next question. Who are your least favorite wrestlers from Lucha Underground? Not many, because I love almost all of them. But if I had to pick, probably Blue Demon Jr. Good wrestler. I know he's a legend in Mexico, but just never really did it for me. Either as he was better as a heel than he was a babyface when he first came into Lucha. I think that might have been the second main event. The main event of the second episode of Lucha last year. Just didn't bore me to tears, but it didn't really do well. I was like, yeah, whatever. And the guy that he faced is also on my list of least favorite luchadors from Lucha Underground. Chavo Guerrero never really did it for me. Never liked him in WWE. Never cared for him in TNA. Don't care for him in Lucha Underground either. He's just boring. You know, all he does is pay tribute to Eddie, which is great. Love Eddie Guerrero. Viva la Raza. But just the whole, I love and miss you, Eddie, every single match is so sickening. Just let it, just stop. Just be Chavo. Don't be Eddie's nephew. Be Chavo Guerrero. You know? And even if he is being himself as a heel and he's not doing the whole tribute thing, he's still not exciting. He's just Chavo Guerrero. He's not bad. He's just boring. So, yeah, I don't really care for Blue Demon Jr. or Chavo. I don't hate either of them. They're just my least favorite from Lucha Underground, from the current roster. His next question, if Ring of Honor had the money, do you think their pure wrestling would actually get over big? Maybe. I mean, if you're saying, like, if they had more television exposure and they had bigger ratings, do you think their pure wrestling would get over big? I mean, it's possible, but I think the biggest gripe with Ring of Honor, maybe having more money, like you said, would fix this issue. Because the thing with the pay-per-views, they have great pay-per-views every single month. And then they don't have follow-up for like 3 weeks because they don't have anything taped for a while. Or they want to show footage from like a show that happened 2 months ago. I'm not complaining because they showed a match between, oh God, who was it? They had a match between Adam Cole and Nakamura a couple weeks ago, which was amazing. They had Okada versus Adam Cole, Okada versus Roderick Strong on last week's episode, another amazing match. But where's the fallout from the pay-per-view? You know, it didn't really make any sense. So that's one thing they have to work on. Maybe it would be fixed if they had more money and they could tape more often or every week or go live or whatever. That'd be the biggest thing or the best thing that could ever happen in that company. But also, too, they really doesn't... I mean, they do in some areas, but they don't really have... Not even storyline consistency. I think it's more that they don't really have many stories. They have great matches, but you can have a great match and not really care about who wins or loses because there's no story there. Sometimes they don't really have many stories to their matches. They're just high spots and kicking out of finishers, which is great for some people. I enjoy it from time to time. Too much of it can be kind of stupid. But I feel like their biggest issue is that they just don't have the fallout from these pay-per-views. Like, why buy a pay-per-view if I won't see what happens next for like another month? It doesn't really make much sense. So they need to work on that, but maybe that's something that would be fixed with having more money, like you mentioned in your question. And his final question here, where do you think the career of Rusev will end up? Future world champion or forever mid-card? Definitely the latter. I don't never see him becoming world champion. Even if he was still the dominant heel that he was before and the ruthless Russian, whatever, I still didn't see him winning a world championship. Unless we had 2 world title bats, unless we had 2 world championships, 2 world title belts, and a Raw and a SmackDown, and he could have been a world champion over on SmackDown, definitely they never would have put the belt on him on Raw. I don't see like guys like Ziggler or Ryback or Barrett or Kingston or Cody Rhodes even, unfortunately, ever winning a world championship with there only being 1 world title. It sucks, but towards the end anyway, that World Heavyweight Championship had next to no prestige. It was being defended in the opener of pay-per-views. It was changing hands randomly. We had awful champions. It was so stupid. But anyway, yeah, I think Rusev, going back to what I was saying before, I think Rusev is very, very good. But at this point, with the way they're booking him, even worse than they were a year. I mean, they were booking him very well going into the John Cena match. He ran into that roadblock that was John Cena, lost 3 times on pay-per-view, which killed his momentum instantly. And the whole Ziggler feud has not done him any favors since. But yeah, definitely mid-card. Forever mid-card for sure. Unless they bring back the world title, maybe they start to push him again. He's forever going to be a mid-card guy. He's a future world champion. He's not going to work out. Definitely with 1 world championship, never going to happen. At Cody Collier, 37, now moving into the Twitter questions. Push, repackage, and fire. Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, and Randy Orton. I feel like I've answered this before, or at least a version of it, but this one was kind of easy. Always push Lesnar. I've never not pushed Lesnar. When anyone mentions him, I always push Lesnar because the guy's a fucking draw. He's a monster. Whether it be his O2 incarnation or current incarnation, I'm always going to push Lesnar. So that's kind of a no-brainer. I would repackage Rollins to be less weak, or at least to turn him into a babyface, and I talked about that before. Fire Orton, only because he's done everything there is to do. He's been a 12-time world champion, like I said before, and there's really not much more for him to do. He's just kind of still having great matches, but he's not a very valuable asset to the company. Some cool merchandise, he's over, he's a draw, but of the 2, Rollins is the future. Lesnar is the fucking guy right now. So of those 2, I would probably, or of those 3, I would get rid of Orton. He's on the verge of retirement anyway, so it doesn't really matter. At Swagzio, his question was, Would you rather see Dean Ambrose or Roman Reigns turn heel? Roman Reigns for sure. I mean, I talked about it months ago, right before SummerSlam, that if Dean turned heel at SummerSlam in Brooklyn, we, as in Brooklyn, because I was there, of course, would have cheered him anyway. Dean Ambrose is so over right now. They kind of hindered his momentum a little bit with his booking from main event star, headlining pay-per-views, to mid-card, or not being on pay-per-views at all, and just all this weird booking the last couple of months, or the last year, I should say, with Dean Ambrose. But he's still very much over, which is a fucking miracle considering how they've booked him the last year, which is not terrible, but they could have booked him better, is what I'm saying. Roman Reigns, he's definitely won a lot of people over since WrestleMania, which is great. I love Roman Reigns. I think it's very, very good. Just the booking of his character could be better. But once he's on his own again, after this whole Ambrose, Norton, and Wyatt family thing runs its course, he might go back to being booed. I'm not sure. I can't verify that, but I feel like people will go back to booing him, not as heavily as he was being booed in the road to WrestleMania, but people might just start to dislike him again because he's not with Dean Ambrose and Randy Orton, two huge fan favorites. But I think Reigns could kind of pull a Rock, where he could really get over as a heel, do some great stuff as a heel, maybe have a mouthpiece in Heyman or somebody else, and then go back babyface down the line and ditch the whole Shield shit and kind of change up his look and get a new theme song and stop going through the crowd. Just be unique. Be Roman Reigns. Don't be Roman Reigns of the Shield. You know what I mean? So, definitely of those two, I would turn Roman Reigns heel. I feel like that probably won't happen now. I feel like they would turn Dean Ambrose heel, but the only issue with that, like I said, is that people are going to side with Ambrose anyway. So what would be the point? Turn Roman Reigns heel. Don't make that mistake. Next question, or next couple of questions, come from @E13A. First one being, so Eva Marie's title contention plans are reportedly aborted and the officials are apparently trying non-wrestling roles. Do you believe WWE is going to give up on Eva Marie as a champion, or is that jumping more to conclusions? No, I don't think it's jumping into conclusions, because like you said, I've read that too, that they might be trying out like non-wrestling roles. Devin Taylor just got released, so maybe they'll put her in that role. Devin Taylor, I was never a huge fan of. Very pretty. She got better as time went on. At the start, she was fucking terrible. She was just like a piece of cardboard when she would be interviewing somebody. Not a good interviewer at all. But she's gotten a lot better, though. She's gotten a lot better, and gotten a lot better. And like I said earlier, she is very pretty, too. But anyway, I feel like Eva Marie could be even worse, because she doesn't know how to talk. She doesn't have charisma. Again, the thing with Eva Marie, and I've talked about this here before in the past, how between her and Dana Brooke, I would buy on Dana and sell, or rather buy on Eva and sell on Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke is getting a lot better in the ring, but Eva Marie has that look where they're going to keep her around regardless. So let's not hope she gets fired or anything like that, because she's going to be on Total Divas. They're going to try to market her. She has a brand. People know her. She's fucking gorgeous. They're not going to give up on her so easily. Maybe as a wrestler, but they're going to keep her around for the Make-A-Wish stuff, to have her as the face of their Divas division. They're going to do something with her. But the thing with her is that, and I thought she would get better quicker than she did. She didn't. She improved in the ring, but just not at a rate that was quick enough to justify putting her in the title contention or putting the title on her, period. So I think it's a smart move. At this point, from what I've seen from her, she is not ready to get back in the ring. She's just not improving at the rate that she should be. So maybe she'd be better at doing something else. Maybe as an interviewer, maybe as a manager. I think as a valet, she should be a lot better. She doesn't have to talk, maybe. I have no idea. But, yeah, I don't think it's jumping to conclusions. I think they're kind of done with her. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and see in the next couple months. I don't know if she wrestled at the most recent set of tapings, but the matches with Carmella sucked and should be enough indication that she's not ready. She may never be ready. And a role for her on TV, she's not going away, so let's stop hoping she gets fired, which is stupid anyway. I hate to see anyone out of a job, but Eva Marie is not the greatest. I know there's other people that could be signing a contract over her any day of the week. But still, I feel like with Eva, they're going to keep her around regardless. So either as a valet, backstage interviewer, whatever. Any role for her is better than what she's doing right now as a wrestler, because she's not very good in the ring. And I think it's better for her to have another spot on television as a regular. His second question, push, repackaged, and release. Alex Riley, Bo Dallas, and The Miz. Very good question, because I'm a fan of all three of these guys. More so of Riley and Miz than Dallas. But and it is tough. I would push Miz because I feel like there's so much more they could be doing with him. Not like pushing like in the main event, but upper mid-card, the whole Hollywood character I feel like is over. He's doing a very good job with that. I would repackage Bo Dallas into a member of the Wyatt family. And I've said this before, but I would put him in the Wyatt family with his real-life brother, Bray Wyatt. Bo Rotunda or whatever his real name is. I think that's Bo Dallas' real name. But you know what I mean. They're real-life brothers. And they could have really good chemistry together, a part of the Wyatt family. It would give Bo Dallas something to do. It would, stop wasting his talent. But, yeah, I would put him in the Wyatt family and then release Riley. I'm a huge Alex Riley fan, but his time has come and gone. I mean, the guy's prime was like 4 years ago when they were pushing him in the feud with John Cena when he was aligned with Miz, and when he feuded with the Miz, and after that, it just all went to shit because of backstage politics. John Cena. But, yeah, the guy's time has come and gone. He got back in the ring recently for a cup of coffee, got injured, and that was about it. So, but I like Alex Riley as an announcer, as a wrestler, but compared to the other two, he has a lot less to offer than Bo Dallas and Miz at their respective points in their respective careers. Should Seth Rollins end Kane's career at Hell in a Cell? That's what I was hoping the announcement would be at Raw last week when Stephanie was like, but. I was hoping that she would say, but if Rollins beats you at Hell in a Cell, Kane's career is over. But she said, oh, Director of Operations Kane will be fired. I'm like, oh, whoop-de-doo. We all know Rollins was going to win anyway, as he should. But I feel like he should. I mean, I know Kane can still go, not like produce 5-star matches, but he could still have a decent match. It's not like he's a big show, and I could bear Kane. I can tolerate Kane on WWE TV in 2015. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind if he continues going on, as I'm sure the plan is, but if he was to have one last hurrah, what better way to go out in your own match? I know it's the Undertaker's match, Triple H's match, whatever, but Hell in a Cell is like his home as well. So, what better way to go out in a main event level match? Not the main event, but a headlining match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship inside your own match stipulation. I feel like it's a great way to go out, unless he retires at WrestleMania. Retiring, what is it, 18 years after his debut, almost a little over 18 years ago. That's got to be Kane. That's got to be Kane. And No Mercy, 18 years ago from last Monday, no better way to go out. So I feel like he should, but I don't see it happening, unfortunately. I feel like they'll just have him lose, stop being Director of Operations, Corporate Kane, Director of Operations Kane, and then just resume with Mask Kane, which is fine, but there's not really much left for him to do. So I would end his career at Hell in a Cell. He's not like he's a huge asset to the roster as a top-tier babyface or anything like that. His next question, what are at least 3 tag team alliances that you would pair up? A lot harder than I thought it would be to pair up a few people. I put Barrett and Sheamus. You could do Barrett and Cesaro too, but I thought Barrett and Sheamus would be an amazing tag team. A lot of people have been pitching that for years now, like a UK-like style stable. You throw in McIntyre, you throw in Regal. Well, McIntyre is gone now, and Regal's not wrestling anymore, so that wouldn't really work. But Barrett Sheamus as a tag team would be really, really cool. So I would do those two. As for the other ones, this is just bullshitting because I feel like with the current roster, there's not as many teams that I would put together that feel like, other than like the Roman Reigns, Ambrose duo, that whole partnership. Other than that, there's not many like random wrestlers that I would put together like, oh, that screams a great tag team, But for the 2 remaining tag teams, I put Ziggler and Breeze, which may seem like a step down for Ziggler, but give me a fucking break. The guy's been involved in one of the worst angles, of 2015 with Rusev and Summer and Lana. How much further on the card could this guy go? And it would give an excuse for them to promote Tyler Breeze to the main roster. He's not doing anything in NXT anyway, so there's similar gimmicks. Maybe you turn, I don't know who you would turn, maybe Ziggler or heel. I feel like that'd be the better combination. Ziggler as a heel and Breeze as a heel too, as a heel tag team would be really, really cool. They look a lot alike too, so that kind of helps. But yeah, I would do Ziggler and Breeze, and then finally Swagger and Axel. I never really enjoyed Axel's tag teams with David Otunga. Boring as all shit. I don't know why they had the titles for as long as they did. Those guys fucking sucked. But anyway, yeah, that tag team, I was never a fan of. Him and Ryback, I never thought really had any chemistry as Rybaxel, such a dumb name. And then what was the other tag team? Him and Macho Mandow, him and Sandow never really did anything for me either. But, yeah, so I would go with either... yeah, I would just go with Axel and Swagger. I feel like the guy is better off as a singles competitor. He had a lot of momentum when he was doing the Axelmania shtick, but obviously that got cut short because of one Hulk Hogan, his actions a couple months ago. Swagger's not doing anything. Axel's not doing anything. They have very mat-oriented wrestling backgrounds, so I feel like they can make a very cool duo in the WWE Tag Team division. We need all the help we can get when it comes to the Tag Team division in WWE. It's getting a lot better, but we could use some more tag teams. And although neither guy is too credible right now, it would be a good use of both guys as opposed to wasting them on WWE superstars. They'd probably be on that show anyway, but it's better than nothing. Better than having Swagger lose to fucking Adam Rose every week on the show. Next question. What are 5 all-time favorite wrestling matches that you would gladly show to a casual outsider? There's a lot of them, and you said 5 all-time favorite matches. I don't think you meant my 5 all-time favorite matches, so I won't refer to those. But obviously Shawn Michaels Undertaker from WrestleMania 25. The in-ring action, the story they told would be a great way to introduce any wrestling fan. Didn't put it on this list, but also Dude Love versus Shawn Michaels, or I think it was it Michaels and Dude Love? I think it was. No, I think it was Austin and Dude Love, or whatever it was. It was from one of those one and only pay-per-views or the In Your House pay-per-views, and it was like a no DQ match or whatever it was. It was an excellent match. And they actually taught it at a college, MIA, when they were doing a pro wrestling course, which is fucking cool as shit. And they referred students to that match because of the in-ring psychology. So that match, didn't put it on the list, but that match. Cena and Punk from 2011 Money in the Bank, if only for the amazing atmosphere. You haven't watched the video package and what happened afterwards, they might be really intrigued by that. Lesnar and Undertaker from the Hell in a Cell match. It's funny, too, because every October I watch my Hell in a Cell compilation DVD that has every Hell in a Cell match from 1997 to 2007, with the exception of Taker and Big Boss Man, which sucked, by the way. It was an awful, awful Hell in a Cell match from WrestleMania 14, or was it 15? I feel like it was 15. I think it was 15. But anyway, though, yeah, so I would watch that DVD every October, and I will be in a couple weeks. And my roommates, who are not wrestling fans at all, they would watch that match and be like, wow, that's so fucking cool. Like, some of them still talk about those matches to this day, those Hell in a Cell matches. And they would watch the Hell in a Cell matches now and be like, oh, that's not as cool. Obviously, there's not blood anymore. But that was a bloody as hell match. They would probably love that one. When I showed my friends the 6-way Hell in a Cell match from Armageddon 2000, loved that match too. Really liked that one. Probably because it had people they know in it, like Triple H and Austin and Rock and all these other guys. They probably like that for that reason too, but they really like that one. So basically any early Hell in a Cell match they'll probably like, so show them that. And also the Tag Team TLC match from either WrestleMania 2000, WrestleMania 17, the SummerSlam one with Hardy's, Dudley Boyz, Edge, and Christian. I mean, a lot of people, a casual viewer, the thing with those matches, though, like I said with the Hell in a Cell ones, that they'll watch those and think that's how wrestling is nowadays, but it's just not, and they'll watch the current stuff and be disappointed. So you might want to show them one of the more recent matches, like I said, like HBK and Taker or Punk and Cena. But the Tag Team TLC match, that match, the in-ring action was incredible. The high-flying spots and stuff, they would just be amazed by. They would just appreciate the athleticism of that contest and just be glued to the screen. So any one of those amazing tag team matches. And also here, lastly, I put Bayley and Sasha Banks, which is kind of a funny story. I won't go too in-depth with it, but I was watching it for the 3rd time. I watched it. I was there live, obviously. I watched it a couple days after that. And then I watched it a couple weeks ago when I was in college. Was home at the dorm for like a Saturday night or whatever by myself. And my roommate came back with his girlfriend. And she knows essentially nothing about wrestling other than who John Cena is. That's it. She knows nothing about wrestling. But the one match that I was watching when she came in was Bayley and Sasha Banks. Now, they watched the match. They really, really liked it. But, of course, she liked Sasha Banks. She made her wallpaper and all this other stuff because she thought she was gorgeous. But she just liked how she carried herself in that ring. And that was a match that it didn't make her a fan, but she really liked because of everything that happened. The high-flying spots, the risks they took and stuff like that, and showing... especially for the women viewers, too, showing that the greatest matches of all time aren't just the male matches. Especially with NXT now. And you could show them any of the women's matches from the last year and a half, and they would be amazed. Like, wow, that's what women can do. Those are the great lengths that women can go to. So, yeah, I would probably show them that match, too. Bayley and Banks, HBK Taker, Punk and Cena from 2011 Money in the Bank, Lesnar Taker from No Mercy 2002, and the Tag Team TLC match from any of the one WrestleManias 2017 or whatever. Next question from Sharon Markisik, or however you pronounce it. I always botch that, so I apologize, Sean. But his question was, push, repackage, and release. Ambrose, Cesaro, and Kevin Owens. I would push Kevin Owens, repackage Ambrose, and release Cesaro. Again, another question I feel like I've gotten before, but Owens, again, like I said earlier, main event star, just needs a push. Repackage Ambrose, maybe to turn him into a heel. I feel like more money, there will be more money made with him as a heel. And then release Cesaro. I love Cesaro. It's just that I feel like he has reached that ceiling where they're just never, ever going to do anything with him. They'll tease it sometimes in matches with John Cena and winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, but they'll never get beyond a certain level with this guy, or at least where he should be on the card. So I would let him go and have him go to Lucha or Japan or Ring of Honor or wherever, where his talents could be realized and used to their full effect. The second question was, do you think Sheamus will have a successful Money in the Bank cash-in? It could go either way. If there's any one guy to lose, it should be him. I like Sheamus as a heel. I feel like I wouldn't be upset if he won the World Heavyweight Championship. A lot of people would be. I like Sheamus. He's not one of my favorites, but I could bear him as World Heavyweight Champion because it's not something we've seen in a couple years. I mean, the last time we saw him as World Champion was in 2012. So at least it's not John Cena as champion again or Randy Orton. I love Randy Orton, but we've seen him as champion 12 times already. Sheamus would be something somewhat new, or at least fresher than a lot of people they could be going with, like a Cena or an Orton or God knows whoever else. I feel like he will be successful. A lot of people don't want him to be don't want him to cash in successfully, but officials are high on Sheamus. They brought him back as a heel for a reason. They thought he could be a top heel. Why they gave him the briefcase to begin with doesn't really explain why they're having him lose all the time. That's typically the case for the Money in the Bank winners, which is bullshit. But another argument for another day. Yeah, so I would imagine he will be cashing in successfully because officials are so high on him. They probably won't have him lose. Next question from @Scarlet1's got a couple questions here. Do you ever feel like between faces being overpowered, John Cena, unsympathetic, Dolph Ziggler, or just ineffective, Cesaro, WWE doesn't know how to make proper good guys anymore? Absolutely. And I love Scarlet One's questions. Another person who always sends in questions every week, which is great. You know, shout out to all you guys. You guys are awesome, but their questions are always very... There's a lot of psychology that goes in your questions, Scarlet One, so props to you for that. But for this question, you make a great point. You make an absolutely great point. We always talk about the heels, the art of being a great heel. I feel like Rollins and Owens are the only true great heels left in WWE right now anyway. When it comes to babyfaces, though, it's not that much better. John Cena is the epitome of what a babyface should be. Hustle, loyalty, respect, but he gets booed. What was the last good guy? I mean, we've had, and I'll name a few in a second, but very, very few good guys can represent what is good, not come off like a dick or, like you said, overpowered like John Cena, or unsympathetic, or just ineffective, or just come off like a dick sometimes, or just cheat, or whatever. Even Hulk Hogan cheated, you know, during his prime time as the biggest babyface in the world back in the 80s and 90s. But very rarely do we have a clear-cut babyface who does all the right things that the fans take to. In 2015, it's very hard to do that because fans want to cheer what is wrong. They want to cheer against the system, who's rebellious, and whatever else. Although they might be doing heelish things, they'll still cheer for them anyway because they like their coolness aspect to it. And those heels don't do anything to turn them against them. Even Kevin Owens, who I still regard as a great heel, he'll embrace the fans instead of trying to turn them against him, which is kind of not what a heel should be doing, but I digress. When it comes to guys nowadays, to proper baby faces, the only two guys that come to mind as being the ultimate baby faces, Daniel Bryan in 2015 or 2014. They kind of ruined him this bad, not ruined him, but when he was getting jealous of Roman Reigns and he was showing heel tendencies, like that was stupid. But in 2014, though, he was the most likable guy in the company. You couldn't help but feel bad for him because he was always losing the big-time matches. He got fucked over at the Royal Rumble. He's an amazing wrestler. He's very likable, both inside and outside the ring. He was the perfect good guy back in 2014. Sami Zayn's another one who I feel like, I don't know if he'll ever reach those heights. Maybe he could, but I don't know if he'll ever reach the heights of becoming world champion in WWE. But the guy is so likable. He's so great in the ring, but this is the guy who, despite losing, people still take to him. You know, even on the main roster when he debuted back in Montreal. I don't know if it's going to be the same effect in the main roster, but NXT is NXT. NXT will turn on you if you're goofy or whatever. They never at one point turned on Sami Zayn. Despite all the losing this guy did throughout all of 2014, he still won those fans over and won the big one to an amazing pop last year at Our Evolution, whatever, in December. My favorite match of that year, period. So Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan, I feel like, are the two best good guys in the business, or have been in years. Other than that, couldn't name a single one. Because like you said, everyone else is either overpowered like a Roman Reigns or a John Cena, shows heel tendencies like a Randy Orton, or ineffective like Cesaro, always losing, you know, not the right way, not an underdog kind of losing, just losing, period. Then Dolph Ziggler, who comes off like a dick sometimes. Couldn't agree more with your logic, but I feel like the best good guys in the business in recent years are Daniel Bryan and Sami Zayn. The next question, what is your favorite NXT special to date, including a rival? Easily Brooklyn. Like I said, the best one so far. I was there for it. I got to witness a great ladder match main event. An amazing, my favorite match to this day, in 2015. Bayley and Sasha Banks for the Women's Championship. My favorite match probably I've ever seen live. I think that goes without saying. But just an amazing show. And like I talked about on my video blog last week, cheap plug, greatest wrestling show I've ever been to, which is saying something because I've been to over 30 wrestling shows. My 7 years as a wrestling fan, I've been to over 30 wrestling shows, almost 3 dozen shows. And that was the best one I've ever been to. NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. Great crowd, great card, great results. An amazing night of moments and magic. No better way to put it than that. So definitely the Brooklyn one. The second favorite would probably be Our Evolution. Just love the main event between Neville and Sami Zayn. My favorite match of that year to that point. The tag team title match wasn't too bad. I think it was Sin Cara and the Lucha Dragons versus Vaudevillains. Not a bad match. Good for what it was. Quick Baron Corbin squash. We had great women's match between Charlotte and Sasha Banks, and I feel like another match too. Balor when he debuted the face paint, another great moment too. Balor and Itami versus Ascension. So yeah, definitely the Brooklyn one though is my favorite special today. It's going to take a lot for that to be knocked off #1 on that list. Third question of theirs: who is in desperate need of a babyface heel turn respectively? Babyface, I put Rusev and Rollins. I feel like Rollins can go out a little longer being a heel because he's such a great heel, and we have no heels right now, no credible heels. That we need him at top for a little while longer. So I would go with Rusev just because what he's doing right now, he can be entertaining, but I also feel like he could be an entertaining mid-card babyface too. Either you have him heel and be the dominant heel that he was a year ago, or you turn him babyface and doing what he's doing now. Losing all the time is not going to work with him as a heel. People are not going to boo him for that, you know. So I would turn him babyface and at the same time do a double turn with Dolph Ziggler. There weren't many people on the roster when I was looking up and down the roster that screamed, "Oh, I need to turn that guy heel." Dolph Ziggler, despite being over, like you were saying before, he's just unsympathetic because he comes off like a dick sometimes, you know? He comes off like he's better than everyone else, who is who he is naturally. He's a natural heel, but he's so over as a babyface. That's why they didn't... Excuse me. That's why they were kind of forced to push him, kind of forced to turn him a couple years ago as a babyface back in 2013. But I feel like he has to turn at some point again soon, maybe in his feud with John Cena or rumored feud with John Cena. I'm not exactly sure. But I would turn Rusev babyface and at the same time turn Ziggler heel. So I would do a double turn if that feud is still going on. I hope not, but that's one thing they can do. Next question of theirs: when Finn Balor gets called up to the main roster, or when should Finn Balor get called up to the main roster? When he himself has said not being in a hurry to leave NXT. You know, I said this days after WrestleMania this year. My bold prediction, not very bold, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, he should debut sooner," but he has yet to debut sooner, so maybe it will come true. But I did say, just days removed from WrestleMania this year, that Finn Balor should debut on the main roster the night after WrestleMania. We've seen it in recent years. We saw it after WrestleMania 30, 31, continue the tradition with WrestleMania 32 next year by having one or two NXT superstars debut on that show. And Finn Balor will be ready at that point. He should probably drop the belt before then to either Joe or Itami or whoever. But Balor should probably, I would say, have him debut on the main roster the night after WrestleMania. Now, not everybody in NXT who was very over in NXT, that success does not always translate to the main roster. I just got done writing an article for Bleacher Report, up right now, got published on Saturday, cheap plug, about how Neville is the latest example that WWE does not know how to properly book NXT call-ups. Now, they've booked The Shield properly, the Wyatt family, Paige, Kevin Owens, but that's not the case with everybody. Look at the Ascension, Bo Dallas, Adam Rose, Emma, the list goes on and on and on. So Finn Balor, though, the guy is in a just completely different level of superstardom, so I feel like there's no way they can botch him. Neville had his things working against him, like his mic skills and whatever. Finn Balor has all the necessary skills. He's not the greatest mic worker of all time either, but he's a lot better on the mic than Neville is at this point, in my opinion. And he just screams star. They're going to make money off his merch. There's no way they're just going to botch this guy. I would hope not. They would really have to put an effort into messing him up intentionally when he gets to Raw and SmackDown. But yeah, I would have him debut the night after WrestleMania. I mean, I know he wants to stay down in NXT. I don't blame him because a lot of people get fucked over on Raw and SmackDown, unfortunately, like Neville and a few others, like I mentioned. But that's where you make the most money. That's where you get the most exposure. So he's going to have to come up at some point, although he may want to stay down in NXT. Triple H is going to have to pull him outside of that doorway, just tugging on him like, come on, Finn, you can't leave. You got to leave Full Sail, buddy. You got to go to Raw. It's time. But yeah, I'm still banking on what I said months ago, night after WrestleMania 32, hashtag book it. So 2 tag team questions for push, repackage, and release. First one being push, repackage, and release. Blake and Murphy, Enzo and Big Cass, and the Vaudevillains. obviously push Enzo and Cass. I have no idea why they're not on TV more. They're just so fucking over. I know they're not the greatest wrestlers of all time, but they are so over. There's no reason why they can't be in the main roster right now or should not be champions right now. So I would push them. I would repackage the Vaudevillains just because I feel like it's a gimmick that won't get over on the main roster. I like it down in NXT. It's cool. I liked it when I went to Brooklyn. They're slowly winning me over. But when they get to Raw and SmackDown, I just don't think it's going to work, especially with the guys like The Ascension and Adam Rose and Emma. All their gimmicks did not get over on the main roster. Nothing against them. It was more how they were booked and how they were booked to look like losers. But with the Vaudevillains, though, I feel like the gimmick probably will not get over on the big stage. I just don't think so. So I would repackage them and release Blake and Murphy. Good tag team, another tag team that's come a long way. I like Murphy as a singles guy, as a tag team, they're good. I love Alexa Bliss. She's really added a lot to the act as a heel manager. But of those three teams, I feel like they're the ones with the least potential. I know the Vaudevillains are the current champions. They were the former champions. Enzo and Cass have never been champions, but Blake and Murphy are two very vanilla guys as a tag team. They've come a long way. Again, I like them as a team, but not as much as I love the Vaudevillains and Enzo and Big Cass. Their second question, push or package, release primetime players, the Lucha Dragons, and the Dudley Boys. T-shirt reference, baby. This one was a lot tougher. I would push the Dragons. I feel like they're so great in the ring. I don't know. Obviously, they're not great in the mic, but they're so great as a team. They're so over in the ring that I feel like they can be a valuable asset to this tag team division if they're taken seriously and pushed. So I would push them between PTP and Dudley Boys. I wouldn't get rid of Dudley Boys. They're over, and not just because I'm wearing a Dudley Boy shirt, but they're over. They deserve one more run. They're great wrestlers. They're an amazing tag team. Really add a lot of credibility to the current state of the WWE tag team division. So I would keep the Dragons. I would push them, repackage the Dudley Boys. I don't know how you repackage them. Maybe turn them heel. I don't know. But I would get rid of PTP. Love primetime players. Probably my favorite tag team of all time. So it's weird that I'm saying they should be released. But you know, in comparison to those two teams, they're not as over. Or they, I mean, the Dragons I feel like could be really, really over if they're pushed. The PTPers got their title run. Neither of them on their own, too. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, Titus O'Neil should be a world champion. I just don't see it. The guy is not world champion material. He's a great dude outside the ring. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean he should be world champion, though. He's not good enough in the ring to justify him being world champion, especially with one world title. The guy's like 30-something years old anyway. Not like age should be a factor, but I feel like he's not a great enough mic worker or in-ring worker to justify him being in the main event. As for Darren Young, good worker in the ring, a better worker, but he's not doesn't have the charisma that Titus O'Neil has. They're a great tag team together for that reason alone, for those reasons. But the Dudley Boys are a lot more over, so I would keep them. The Dragons have yet to really reach their peak. I feel like the primetime players already have. So I would get rid of them, push the Dragons, and repackage the Dudley Boys, whatever that might mean. At Reborn Again, via the Twitter. What are your thoughts on WWE basically giving up on Eva Marie as a wrestler? Like I said, I feel like it's for the best. You know, she's not improving in the ring at the rate that she should be. So they're not going to get rid of her. I mean, people should, you know, oh, maybe it's time to get rid of her. She's not going to work out as a wrestler, so maybe they should just get rid of her. They're not going to fire her. She's gorgeous. She has a brand. She has a following. If whatever that's worth, they're not going to fire her, people. They're just going to find another role for her, which is better because she's not all that good in the ring. She's improved, but not at the rate that she should be. She's not where she should be in the ring. So you might as well put her in an interview role or a valet role, like I said before. So those are my thoughts on that. His second question, do you think WWE should drop the Hell in a Cell theme pay-per-view? Do you think it devalues the Hell in a Cell match itself? Absolutely. I've been saying this for years. I wrote an article about it back in 2013. I mean, I love TLC. I'll be at TLC in a couple months, so get rid of it next year. But that's another match that should be just brought up every once in a while. Maybe once a year, once every few years. Same thing with Hell in a Cell. It's not. I hate the notion that it's October again, time to do Hell in a Cell. You know, I just think it's so dumb. Like, I love the idea of Lesnar and Taker being in there. That's a feud that deserves a Cell stipulation. Roman Reigns and Wyatt kind of deserves it too. They've had a long enough feud where it kind of makes sense. But Taker and Lesnar makes a lot of sense given their current feud and how long it's been going on, the controversy surrounding their last match. It makes perfect sense, but still, I would definitely prefer that it's brought up every couple months. It really adds to the excitement of, like, and, you know, instead of Hell in a Cell match or the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, like, great, for the 7th year in a row, as opposed to, which would be a lot better, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, you guys will fight this Sunday inside Hell in a Cell, and the place goes crazy because we haven't seen a Hell in a Cell match in over a year. You know, something like that I feel like would be a better use of the Cell stipulation. So yeah, I would get rid of the pay-per-view, and I do think it devalues the match itself. I'm still excited for the pay-per-view and the show and the match, whatever, but I feel like it's a lot better if they just use it when necessary as opposed to, oh, it's October again. And we're all done with the fucking buy rate shit. The only reason they did that in the TLC Breaking Point, remember that pay-per-view, wasn't a bad show. It was actually a pretty good show. But the only reason they have so many themed pay-per-views from over the years is because they wanted to boost buy rates. But it's all about the network now, so who gives a fuck, you know? So I would just get rid of them and replace them. Bring back No Mercy and Unforgiven, all those other great pay-per-views. At Unsolved22, his question was, why did you start hashtag AskGSM? Like I said, started it in July of 2013. I've been doing, like Q&A videos for like over a year before that. I mean, I've been doing Wrestle Rant videos, not in the form that they are currently. And of course now I do reviews of pay-per-views I've seen on the network. But even when I was, before that, when I was doing random vlogs or raw reviews, my Wrestle Rant videos, I would also sometimes do fan questions, Q&A. And I'd have people send in questions via Twitter and on Facebook and whatever, mostly Twitter. But there was never really enough questions to justify doing an own show about it, to justify doing a whole half hour devoted to just fan questions. I only got like 3 or 4 a week. So I would do it sporadically, and then when I did it in July of 2013, I wanted to do more with YouTube, kind of switch up the format of doing more than just Wrestle Rant videos, because by that time I wasn't really utilizing the channel at all. We had a few hundred subscribers, maybe 200 or 300 max, but we really didn't have much more than that. I think around 200, if anything. Yeah, but other than that, though, I really wasn't using the channel much, and I wanted to do something that was more current, and I thought it'd be cool to do a Q&A video. Someone might have brought it to my attention. Someone might have suggested that I do it. I feel like someone did bring the idea to me, but I also think I did it myself. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, the first episode, July 8th of 2013, I've always wanted to. I love answering questions from other people. The wrestling questions, I love getting your. The fact that people care about my opinion when it comes to these questions is awesome too. If you want to just get your name on the show, that's awesome too. I can't blame you for that. But the fact that people watch these videos, sometimes in their entirety, the entire hour, hour and a half, is really, really cool, so I appreciate that. But it's funny, too, because when we started doing these videos 2.5 years ago, the original format was only 15 minutes, because I had a couple copyright strikes on my channel for, like, uploading Titantrons years ago, in, like, 2009, 2010, whatever. So my videos could not exceed 15 minutes, and I finally got that over with in early of 2014, so my videos can finally exceed over 15 minutes. But it's just funny, when we first started doing these series, and I had to take time away. I was not on YouTube and Twitter much, obviously, in the first semester, my freshman year of college. Was not on YouTube at all, was not using Twitter at all, only Facebook. So when I was not getting the Twitter questions, why would I continue doing the show, obviously? So, but I did do like 9 or 10 editions that first summer of 2013. And, but it's funny, if you watch those videos back, I'm like going through questions like that, because the videos can only be 15 minutes long. I have to really rush through the questions. And now this video might break the record of the longest video of all time, the longest hashtag AskGSM video ever, at almost half an hour, almost an hour and a half, which is crazy to think about. But it's, that's what happens when you guys send in as many questions as you do, and I don't regret it at all, because you guys send in a lot of great questions, so I appreciate that. But that is the reason why hashtag AskGSM started, and the reason why it's continued is because you guys send in questions. It's primarily through Twitter initially, and it still is a lot through Twitter, but that's where I'm most active, of course. But a lot of you guys sending questions on Facebook, YouTube now too, which is really cool. But if it wasn't for you guys sending in questions, the show would have died a death a long time ago. So thank you for that. And like I said earlier, here's hoping, here's to another 100 more episodes, and here's to another 1,000 more episodes for months and years and decades to come. So next question from Matt Scarlet 1, kind of going back to their original set of questions. What wrestlers do you particularly look up to? My favorite wrestlers are William Regal, Punk, all those guys. That's not your question, but it's also kind of similar in the way, like idols, inspirations, and stuff. CM Punk, my second favorite wrestler, right next to William Regal, but also one of my biggest inspirations. Just his attitude. I know a lot of people call CM Punk a dick and all that other kind of stuff, but just the way that he lives his life and just not caring what other people think and stuff like that, I think is something a lot of people can learn from Punk. I mean, other than the kind of the whining that he does sometimes, which kind of sucks, but positive mental attitude, stuff like that, I think is great about CM Punk. So he's been a huge idol of mine since, for years, dating back 2010, 2011. Ultimate Warrior 2, more so him as a person than as a wrestler, but he is a wrestler, so when I started watching his inspirational videos back 2011, 2012, I was a huge fan of his. He really helped me get my life back on track years ago, so I have to attribute a lot to the Warrior. Matt Hardy, too, when he was going through his issues, and could kind of relate to that in late 2011, early 2012 when he was doing his stuff back then. He's been a great friend to me as well, and I met him many times in the last couple of years. Met him for the first time in 2012, met him again last year, met him again this year, meet him again, hopefully going to meet him again in a couple months if I go to a show. But yeah, Matt Hardy's another inspiration of mine, and also Jericho too. He's another favorite wrestler of mine, but just how he does everything that he does, just, writing books and articles and just, writing the books and doing the podcasts and wrestling and doing the band. Very inspirational dude. A jack of many trades, something a lot of people can be inspired by from Jericho. But yeah, Punk, Warrior, Hardy, and Jericho, all people that I look up to, idols of mine that are wrestlers. At Daniel Cabeza 59's got a couple questions here. Congratulations on your 100th episode. Thank you, Daniel. His question was, how can you make Raw feel must-see again? So I kind of mentioned this before, but like I said, just switch up the tired formula. Don't open the show with an authority promo every single week. Don't put the same people in the main event. They've kind of been doing a good way. They've been doing a good job of switching that up and putting different people in the main event and putting fresh faces in the main event every single week for the last couple of weeks. Not going to change ratings much, but I do appreciate the effort. So that's what I would do to change up Raw, make it must-see again. Do things that people wouldn't expect. I'm not saying, do Goldberg, Hogan-like matches every single week like WCW did, but it wouldn't kill them to do it every single once in a while on Raw. Make it feel must-see again, like you said. Just do something crazy or like a Dudley Boys return was great. You just got to keep it consistent and do more must-see matches. Not the same matches we saw days earlier on SmackDown, Just don't do rematches every single week. Just do something new and people will watch Raw and make, as opposed to, Raw's on tonight, but it's probably going to be seen in Rollins for the millionth time, so I won't tune in. But if you do, Rollins and Bryan tonight, or Rollins, or rather, Cena and, I don't know, Fresh Guy tonight, oh shit, I'm going to tune in. That might be something special. If you get that feeling where people feel like, where they feel like they need to tune in, then they will. So they don't feel like you don't want them getting the feeling that, I'm not going to miss anything. It's the same thing we saw last week. It's the authority opening the show, so I won't watch for the first hour. I'll watch for the last 10 minutes, You got to break up that formula by doing more things that, not also that people want to see, but just doing something out of the blue, just, having this person show up at this time slot, not doing everything at 9, 10, and 11 o'clock. I understand why they do it. They kick off things. They kick off the show and end the show with big angles, but you can also do a big angle at these different quarter hours and make people feel like anything can happen throughout Raw. You need that feeling again like we saw during the Attitude Era. Not a huge Attitude Era fan myself, but you need to recapture that feeling that anything can happen at any time, and that's how you can make Raw a must-watch again. His next question, who do you think is the right superstar that can make Brock Lesnar lose a match clean? Forget John Cena, Extreme Rules 2012. I put Owens here. Again, I don't feel like it's no one from the current roster. I would have said Roman Reigns, but, they had, Rollins cash in at WrestleMania, so that never ended up working out, and thank God it didn't. I don't feel like Reigns, if he beat Lesnar clean, it would have been a total waste. I mean, I know Reigns would have benefited from it, but he wasn't ready at that period in time, so I'm glad they changed plans and had Rollins win instead. But I would go with Owens. I mean, I put Bryan here too. I mean, last year or this past year, it would have been cool if Bryan won the Rumble and beat Lesnar clean as champion. This huge David versus Goliath story, and he finally wins the belt and he emerges victorious. But a lot of people do not see Daniel Bryan as a legitimate threat to Brock Lesnar, so I understand that. A lot of people would not agree with that. Samoa Joe I put 2, but like I said earlier, I just don't think that's happening. So I put Kevin Owens. I feel like that is very likely that he could face Lesnar. Could he beat him? Probably not, but if everyone on the roster right now, who else would you have beat Brock Lesnar? Other than an established part-timer, which also would make much sense. I don't want to see Taker beat him at Hell in a Cell. Hopefully he doesn't. But yeah, I would probably have Owens do the honors, or have Lesnar do the honors for Owens, because I feel like he could really benefit from it. The match could be great. The promos could be great. It'd be a money match down the line that Owens could really benefit from if he was to beat the one who put the 1 in 21-1 at WrestleMania 30 last year. His next question, if Finn Balor and Samoa Joe wrestle for the NXT title, who do you think should turn heel? I'm intrigued for a Balor turn. Of those two, I would probably turn Joe. I mean, if it was up to me, I would keep them both babyface. I don't really see the need to turn either guy. But Balor is so, I mean, maybe you could do a darker twist on the character, maybe. But he's so over, and he just screams babyface, and just, Joe's over too, but I feel like he could work as a heel. We saw that in TNA for a while. Balor could work as a heel too if he was a darker character, but he's so, like, he has the look that the girls love, and people love his in-ring athleticism, and people just go crazy for his in-ring offense. Samoa Joe is much more ruthless as a heel, babyface, whatever. So I would go with him turning heel. Like I said earlier, if Itami came back, maybe turn him heel when he returns. But yeah, of the two, if it was only Joe and Balor, though, I'd probably turn Joe. I mean, I understand a Balor turn, it could be cool down the line, but the guy is the perennial babyface, so I would not turn him at any point in the near future. I'd probably turn Joe. But if it was up to me, I wouldn't turn either of them. You can do a babyface and babyface feud for the title, like we saw with Zayn and Neville last year, which was a huge success. So if it works, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And the final question in today's 100th episode of Hashtag AskYouSam, also from Daniel: do you think that Asuka has a better chance of connecting with the crowd than Hideo Itami? You know, Itami, it's not that he didn't connect. I just feel like he wasn't booked badly. I don't know what it was. Maybe that he didn't really speak much English. And Asuka doesn't either. But Asuka already on night one, I don't know. I think with Itami, you know what it was with Itami? He didn't really get the WWE style down from night one. It took him some time, and he really honed that skill, and he's gotten a lot better from, with the WWE style, whatever that means. Asuka, first night in, has a very good match with Dana Brooke at last week's NXT special, which is impressive considering it's Dana Brooke, who is not all that great in the ring, who is getting better, but I would not imagine for her. I would not have seen her having a great match, but Asuka really carried her to a very, very good match last week, and the crowd was behind her. She's charismatic. She can talk some English, but she could always use a mouthpiece, and she's just great in the ring. So people are already connecting with her as the newest addition to the NXT roster. Hideo Itami, I think, like I said before, just needed more time to adapt to that WWE style, and has already done that, so he should, get over huge, even more so than he was before when he returns from injury. So that's going to do it for today's edition of Hashtag AskGSM, the 100th episode. Thank you guys so much for sending in all the questions, making this probably the longest episode to date. I chopped up the video in like 5 different parts. I'm not exactly how long this is altogether, well over an hour, easily close enough to an hour and a half or something like that. I don't have the time in front of me exactly, but I have to go back and check. Probably the longest episode of Hashtag AskGSM ever, which is very fitting with today being the 100th episode. Hashtag AskGSM 100. So thank you for that. Always appreciate the support. Like I said at the start of the video, if you want to send a question, you can do so by tweeting me on Twitter at WrestleRant, tweeting me with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a comment on the wall itself or the post I usually put up on Sunday nights. And last but not least, you can leave a comment on this very video in the comment section down below. So as always, guys, thank you for sending in the questions. Thank you for making the 100th episode a special one, an epic event. And here's hoping, here's to another 100,000 more episodes in the years to come. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. All support is greatly appreciated. Have a great rest of your Columbus Day weekend. I'm Graham Matthews, and I'll catch you guys down the road.